Hi, my name is Amanda Haywood, and I want to talk to you today about what leadership is. So, I've been coaching women, wives, and moms for the past 2 to 3 years, also business owners, but smaller businesses. And I have a distinct view on what leadership is. And I'm super curious to know what it is to you and what it means to you. And the reason it brought me down this path is because I had the pleasure of coaching a CEO with hundreds of employees a while back. And I used the exact same principles that I used to teach my wives how to create better communication and connection with their husband. I used that on him, and he had the most profound experience and aha moments that I've seen in anyone I've coached so far. So it led me down this path of today wanting to coach directors and CEOs with the same principles. So I'll share with you briefly what he had to learn that many of my wives had to learn, which was to shut the beep up and start listening and just shut up. And I don't think anyone has ever told him that, but he would derail meetings and just go in all his stories about why everybody else was stupid and he was super smart, and like make up stories around this bad behavior, which is to make other people feel wrong, interrupt, not listen. Exactly how I showed up in my marriage at some times, and exactly how I've been learning to lead myself. And when I told him these things that were the exact same principles, he just was blown away and he had a complete transformation. And I just don't think anybody ever got close enough to him with enough love and authenticity and realness, and just really caring about him enough to tell him that truth. And he changed completely. He's using my expressions now, and it's so amazing. He's a super brainy guy, super successful. He just needed to hear that. So that made me see, wow, leadership really is leadership. It doesn't matter if you're leading yourself with your spouse at home or towards your children or your employees. How you lead yourself anywhere is how you lead yourself everywhere. So now I'm teaching these 12 steps to directors, and which I have been also for the last year in business in America, but I want to do it today in Denmark. And that's why I'm curious, anybody out there, but especially Danish directors, what is leadership to you? Because to me, and in what I teach, it's really about managing your mind in order to manage your emotions. And the reasons why you want to manage your emotions is you want to get to connection with your employees. You want to connect with them. And if you don't manage your emotions, you're never going to get to connection. Or those times when you fail to manage your emotion costs you a lot because people shut down, they get scared, and you don't show up as a leader. So what I love the most about what my mentor has told me over the years is that how you react to things is your legacy. The legacy you leave behind is how you react to things. So of course we're all human. We make mistakes, we blow up, we lose it. I do that at home with my kids. I lose it. But how long do we stay in the story? Which means our excuse for bad behavior. So I look at leadership really simple. Leadership, there's good behavior and there's bad behavior. There's a story we tell ourselves inside our head before this so-called bad behavior. If it's at home, the analogy at home, picking up stuff after your husband or your kids, you have this story. Oh, he's so lazy. Oh, mommy, I'm the only one. And all of a sudden you lose it because you've been in that story that is your excuse for bad behavior. And then you have a story afterwards, exactly like the CEO I coached. He had a story around why he was allowed to act the way he was, which was bad behavior. Losing it with your employees, showing up like an idiot. That's bad behavior because it doesn't get you to where you want to be. It doesn't get you to connection. It doesn't get you to leave the impression with the people you're in a meeting with that you desire in order to get the result that you want, which is always to connect with people, right? So that's why it was bad behavior, but nobody dared to tell him that his excuses were just excuses. So we have them before and after bad behavior. After bad behavior, I lose it with my kids and I go, oh, why did I do that? It's the last thing I want to do. And then I think out loud, because we do that as women, and I say, oh, mommy's just tired, or mommy's just hungry, or I'm the only one cleaning up, which is an excuse for my own bad behavior, which was to lose it with my kids. And it could be to lose it with your employees, to lose it at a board meeting, whatever, if you're the director of board of directors, right? Losing it with somebody is just bad behavior, and that's okay. But if you stay in the story and the reasons for why it was okay, it could be a number of bad behaviors. that costs you. It costs you on the bottom line. The longer you stay in that excuse, that's how I see leadership. Leadership is how fast are you able, or how quickly are you able to be honest with yourself and not stay in the story and the excuse, and just admit, okay, mommy shouted, I shouldn't have, move on. Or just admit to yourself, that was not good. Or admit to the employee, I shouted, I shouldn't have, and reestablish connection. So the speed at which you're able to be honest with yourself, to me, that's leadership. So another example from corporate life, let's say another CEO I worked with, he had a sore point around something that happened to him, and this new employee comes in and steps on that sore spot, and he loses it, and he doesn't know what to do. He gets scared, he gets paralyzed, doesn't treat that person the way he should have. And it takes a while, and he admits his own mistakes towards the person in a meeting, like an hour after or 2 hours after. But in that time, that person thought he was the worst leader in the world. That person had a feeling of being wrong. That person had just been him or herself, right? But what this leader failed to do was see that not only was his wounds wired up and his insecurity was triggered, but the employees was also triggered. As soon as he got triggered, he triggered her back, right? And if you're only able to look at your own wounds and your own triggers, which is great, and he even admitted it, and that's a great quality, right? But he failed to see that as soon as you get triggered, somebody else is triggering you, you trigger them. So leadership, and I call it lead with love, right? Leadership is about noticing when you're led with fear and insecurity. Your triggers are triggered, it happens, but noticing that and being able to acknowledge that then you either triggered somebody before they triggered you, or you just got triggered, and your response to it will trigger somebody and hurt their feelings as well. So all have these wounds, right? Do you want to look only at your own, or do you not even want to look at your own? So leadership is noticing when we're led with love and trust versus fear and insecurity. That's what it is to me. That's my truth. And that's my glasses that I can't really take off. Also because I have been working a lot with couples and a lot with moms, which is where my heart is really at. But I also have coached a number of businesses, smaller businesses, and it's the same things that really land their aha moments and make them grow exponentially. It's the same principles, my 12 steps to lead with love, which all starts with number one, kind of like AA, acknowledge, admit and acknowledge. For example, I used to go around saying, hi, my name is Amanda. I'm a recovering angry wife. Nobody wanted to hear about that. Worst marketing ever, everybody told me. But what happened is people would come up to me secretly, say, hi, I'm an angry wife. And so you don't have to go say it out loud like I did to everybody, but you got to acknowledge it to yourself. I'm acting out jealousy. I'm acting out insecurity. I'm acting out of whatever it is you're acting out of. Just admit it. And practice that deeper level of honesty than you ever had. It doesn't have to be in public, but the faster you're able to be honest with yourself and your employee or your wife at home or your kids, the faster you get to connection. And the way I look at it is there's a way to connection to people and there's a way away from it. So you're either walking towards connection or away from connection. Leadership is choosing to practice honesty, choosing to admit, okay, that story is not, that's an excuse for bad behavior. Just what do you want? Get clear on what you want. So here's how I really helped my wives, and it goes for husbands as well. It doesn't have to be wives. Is it when you get clear on your intention, if you're able to manage your mind in a way that you can manage your mouth, to just ask yourself that question. And I know this is really banal, but this is really what it's about. What is my intention with opening my mouth? What do I really want? Oh, I want to get back to love and connection, or I want this employee to have a sparkle in his eyes and just run with the vision. And that's what I want. If you get clear on that, then you can see what takes me there and what doesn't take me there. If I'm doing something and the employee feels wrong, I'm definitely not getting to where I want to go. It's always about connection. Now, being understood and heard, that is a feeling, right? So you have a vision, you have a strategy, you have something, you get to enroll other people in, and you have some goals, and you got to get them to understand where they're running towards and why. And for them to understand why, that's a feeling. It's not even logic. It's all about feelings, right? And that's why you can use positive manipulation, so to speak, to create that feeling of understanding. And I used to say this to the to the men with the quote unquote angry wives, or the wives that were stuck, because wives really wanted to be understood, right? That's how I knew this about understanding that you can use at work when you're leading employees, uh, or the same principles. So I found out that wives really want men to understand them, and men will never ever understand them. Here's why they want it to be understood, is because we have so many more words and thoughts and things going on in our head. We look at this man and we're peace of mind envy. That's what the real Freudian word should be. Peace of mind envy. We wish we could think of nothing. We wish we could empty our heads. We wish we could not think about this and that and the other dishes, the mess, and all these things. So we just want to be understood, but the man will never really, our men will never really understand us. And the same goes for you as a boss. You might not understand your employee's perspective, and your employee might never understand your perspective, and they don't have to. Just give them that sense and that feeling of being understood. And here's a little cheap trick that I used, and I'm not saying you should lie or just think about the goal that you have, but this is what I found out to be true and super, super effective. Now, my own husband even tried it on me once. It's just to look into your spouse's eye. When she really has a desperate need for you to understand her, don't use your brain. Take the brain out of the equation, but look into her eyes and nod your head and say, "Oh, I see," when she stops talking. "Oh, I see. Okay, I never thought about it like that. But when you say it that way, I understand." And my husband used it on me once. We were stuck in one of these arguments. And I know this can work in the workplace as well. Just give them that feeling of being heard and understood, because when they feel understood, they will take your message and run with it. And we stopped fighting immediately after he used that sentence. We'd been stuck fighting for I don't know how long. One of those times when I was making an espresso and I still had the espresso thing in my hand. And he said something, I said something, and I wanted to say something nice, and he interpreted it as something bad, and I got even more hurt. Like the words were like hand grenades coming back and forth. And as soon as he said that sentence, because I felt like he understood, or he was willing to say, "I understand you," and we were back in each other's arms, making up and all that. And I looked up at him and I asked him, "Did you really mean that?" And he said, "No, he didn't." And I didn't care, because I got what I wanted, and we were back in connection. So, little side story. Understanding is a feeling. And once your team feels that you understand them and they feel understood, they will run with whatever you're giving them much faster. It's about give what you want to get. If you want them to understand something, understand them. Ask them what their vision is. Ask them what they think should be done. And let them tell you all of that, and then pause and then wait. Always think about what you want and then give that. To me, that's leadership. I think that's my step number 7, is give to get. So whatever you want, but also in the couples counseling analogy, give what's love to your husband if you want love from him, but don't give what's love to you. So for example, in all the couples I know, and it just varies, the woman is the one talking all the words, and there are studies around this, but it can be the other way around. It can be you as a boss that talks more than your employees, and you want to make your employees talk, right? So the reason I'm sharing this is that if you want to give love to your husband in order to get love back from him, don't tell him everything you're thinking about, because that's not love to him. Love to him most of the time is silence and something else. And just give that, right? Because my husband definitely didn't want to know what I was thinking about. He asked me once and I talked for 20 minutes. It's my favorite question, but he gets all confused, too many words. So give what is love, or give it's not about love in your employee relationship, but give what they want, what they value, not what you value, and you'll get it back. And even more, if you want them to understand you, just try to understand them first. So give what you want. That's one of the principles as well. So I am super eager to learn what you think is leadership and how else to implement this in the corporate world. It's been super interesting with the aha moment from that CEO with so many employees, and they're way happier now, and nobody's scared and nobody's shutting down like an oyster. And I can't wait to teach this to more CEOs out there, or maybe lower level, just directors, managers with employees and a team, to inspire and motivate and bring out the leadership in your team so that they just run with the baton. And just the human potential is amazing. And I've seen that. I was in corporate before I started the self-development journey, and I was also a leader, a sales leader. And what I really saw, the human potential, like it's amazing how that could go, especially for people that disc profile, DI and salespeople. Uh, like the difference in the performance is so unique. That's why I love this field of leadership. And I took this whole detour around how to lead ourselves at home. But leadership really does start at home. Leadership to me is about leading yourself, and the rest will follow. When you lead yourself and you manage your emotion and you keep your eye on the ball and what your intention is, and you're able to ask yourself that and act out of what your intention is and manage your mind and manage your mouth, then all the results will fall into place. It's not about creating it by push. It's about accepting and surrendering at the right times and giving space for it to evolve. And don't think that you're indispensable, or don't think that you can't be taken out of the equation. Things will fall in place when you give it space. That I've seen so many examples of, both in corporate and with at home with my husband and my children. So let me know what leadership is to you. I'm excited to hear it. And I'm excited to be back here on LinkedIn and to be back in the corporate world after my little detour of self-development and love. I did do some amazing leadership training in the States and worked with some crazy talented people, top athletes and top performers. And that's why I'm super excited about this concept of leadership. But I do find in Danish, you don't have the same word. You don't have the same distinction between management and leadership. We do actually have a distinction between styrelse og ledelse, but actually I find that the Danish word for management is actually more accurate to leadership the way I see it. So let me know what leadership is to you and how you apply leadership in your work as a director of people and as a leader of a team and as a leader of yourself out there in the corporate world, preferably in Denmark. I'd love to hear from anybody anywhere out there in the world. Bye-bye.